Falling mortgage rates are bringing buyers back to the market. If you've been sitting on the sidelines, you better wake up.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Brian Grimes, your real estate mentor, back with another market update. Mortgage rates have been falling as of recent, so buyers are coming back into the market, which is something I've been predicting if you've been following me. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and leave a comment that says, I subscribe. For everyone who leaves that comment, I'm going to send you instant access to my free real estate training that'll show you how to acquire properties for pennies on the dollar all across the country. You don't want to miss out on that free offer. But let's get straight into this, guys. The average rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage rate fell to 6.09% this week as of the making of this video, the lowest in 5 months. So buyers are returning, but experts are saying that the state of the economy will drive the market's next moves, which is crucial, right? We have to track the economy. We have to understand what the Fed is doing. And what the Fed is doing is they're responding to the marketplace. They're responding to inflation. And inflation is driving the market. It's also driving rates. And we'll talk about, why and how that's working. But if inflation continues to uptick, rates are going to keep going up because the Fed's number one objective is to keep inflation under check. Like, keep this thing on lock before it gets out of control like it did in the 80s. And then rates are just going bananas. But so far, what the Fed has been doing has been working. Mortgage rates are kind of readjusting themselves. I think they pretty much spiked back in, let's call it like September, where rates hit like 7%. And people were like, oh, they're going to 8, they're going to 10% on a 30-year fix. I was always saying, no, because it doesn't make sense. The last time that rates were that high on 30-year notes, housing prices were so much lower. There's only so much the average American can afford. So rates have to stay within affordability or people just won't buy. And when people aren't buying, all these mortgage companies, how do they make money? They make money by writing new mortgages or having people refi. But people don't refi when rates are going up. And people stop taking out new debt when rates are going up. So if they continue to allow this to happen, they're just going to die. Like, if they don't write enough mortgages, the lights don't stay on and the industry just dies out, right? So it has to readjust. It is real estate. This is always a supply and demand game. So people have to stay tapped into that. But let's get into this article a bit. So earlier in the pandemic, when many urbanites were leaving New York City to work remotely in far-flung locations, somebody like Molly Parker Wade instead moved from the West Coast to Brooklyn to be closer to her family. She spent 2022 learning about mortgages, she said. Undeterred by higher rates, she closed on a $975,000 one-bedroom apartment in Crown Heights. To me, this is like, I wouldn't do this. If I'm going to pay $975,000, I could show you guys several 10-unit to almost 15, 16-unit buildings that you could get in places like Delaware, Baltimore, maybe even parts of Philly. I don't know if you could get that many, but you could get like 6, 7, maybe 8 units in places like Philly for $1 million. Some people are buying one-bedroom apartments, but to each their own. Home buyers are edging back into the market after being sidelined last year by a jump in borrowing costs and soaring housing prices. We know prices are coming back down, which is good for us, and rates are coming back down, which is why I think this is a good year to keep your eye on the market and get back in. Although mortgage rates are coming down, the average rate on the most common home loan fell to a 5-month low this week, making purchases relatively more affordable. Real estate experts say what matters more for buyers and sellers now is the state of the economy, which is especially hard to gauge. And it's hard to gauge because while the Fed has been doing their thing, they've been rocking rates, increasing them. People have been getting crushed. New people who were just relying on debt, right? Which is a lot of companies, a lot of the big tech space, just relying on debt, thinking we're a growth company. We don't worry about profitability. It's just all about growth, and we just take on more debt and we have infinite growth. Well, once those rates went up, they've had mass layoffs. And the Fed kind of wants those layoffs because it restabilizes the market. You have to have layoffs, you have to have job losses to suck money out of the economy and tame inflation, because there's less people who can afford the goods and services. So then people have to kind of readjust their pricing and slow down a bit. So it adjusts the economy in many ways, but that's just one of them, which is kind of a rudimentary supply and demand base, just people having money, people being able to spend, or people not being able to spend. So job loss is a part of it. And that those numbers have been good, but unfortunately, we got some recent data on the payroll report, which was like, it just blew it out of the water. It was much more, maybe 4x than expected. And that's putting some pressure on inflation for the Fed. So the Fed was getting very comfortable, and now they're like, maybe we'll keep ticking up rates for a little bit longer. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. This is really a game where the Fed does not want to get this wrong. They don't want to about face on rates and start to down tick, and then inflation goes way back up, and they got it wrong. So they don't want to get this wrong. In the 80s, whoever was controlling the Fed in the 80s got it wrong, and that's why, things just got bananas. But it's all about jobs. It's all about jobs, said Sam, the chief economist at the mortgage finance giant Freddie Mac. Although the economy is solid, if all these recession forecasts come to fruition, it would be a big deal, he added. The U.S. economy grew at an annual rate of 2.9% in the fourth quarter of last year. The government reported last week as Americans continue to spend despite stubbornly high inflation. So people are still spending. The International Monetary Fund projected this week that the U.S. economy was slow this year and the jobless rate would rise. They want jobs to go down. They want people to get fired, unfortunately. But there was a narrow path that allows the U.S. economy to escape a recession altogether. If it has a recession, the recession would be relatively shallow. So that's kind of, what they want. So that's kind of that information there, guys. We'll see what the Fed continues to do. We're not quite sure. But what we do know is that rates are going down, even though the Fed is increasing. And a lot of people don't know, why. So I want to talk a little bit about why that happens. So everyone knew weeks ago the Fed would raise the overnight rate at recent meetings. Even so, fixed mortgage rates fell through much of January. It wasn't a big drop. 30-year fixed rate mortgages averaged 6.29% in January, down from 6.38% in December. And they're down even more now as of the making of this video. They just keep falling, which is great news for us buy and hold, affordable housing, developers, us burst strategists that are out there, buying properties, rehabbing them, stabilizing them, putting renters in, refinancing, repeating that process, and just building cash flow. This is phenomenal. This is what I've been predicting for us. I didn't want us to, get too scared or think rates were going to go to 10%. I actually saw this about face and have been talking about it for a while. But whenever mortgage rates and the federal funds rate move in opposite direction, it serves as a reminder that the Fed influence mortgage rates. They influence mortgage rates, but don't set them. Mortgage rates are governed by a mixture of market forces, essentially. So they're not just like, hey, whatever the Fed says goes. This isn't like some guy at a meeting or a board. They just say, yeah, we're just bumping up your mortgage, and it is what it is. There are still market forces that are focused on supply and demand that restabilize these things. And that's why I think they're just going to be lower. I truly believe we're going to have lower rates for longer. This is the new normal. You can't reset prices to the point where a 12% interest rate on a 30-year fix makes any sense. You just can't do it. You just can't. I just don't see it. So lately, mortgage rates have been heavily influenced by inflation. Inflation is what we need to watch. If inflation continues to drop, mortgage rates will continue to fall. So the inflation rate is falling, and that's the main reason mortgage rates went down in January. The latest consumer price index from December showed that the overall prices increased 6.5% over the previous 12 months. That's down from a peak of 9.1% in June. So we're seeing inflation it's getting there. The long-term inflation rate is still 2%. I'm just going to blow this up for us. It's still 2%. That's still the stretch goal. That's where the Fed wants long-term inflation. So we're still a ways away. We're not out of the water, But as the Fed continues to uptick their rates on the federal funds rate, and inflation, if they're right, and if this starts to control inflation, and if job losses continue, and all these things continue to work out in the favor of what the Fed wants, which is lower inflation, and that's kind of what we want as well as buy and hold investors, because lower inflation means lower mortgage rates. So as we get to this goal, rates will continue to go down, which means you got to be in buying mode. You have to keep your eye on the market, because what this also means is as rates go down, as they continue to fall, more and more buyers are going to enter that market. They're going to come back. They're watching this data, even if you're not, even if you're sitting on the sideline, or you're listening to somebody who's telling you, hey, it's not a good time to buy. The market's going to fall. The prices are going to go down. Prices don't fall when mortgage rates go down. They go up because people can afford more payments. The monthly payments go down as the rates go down, which means you can afford more house. The average American can afford more house. They're going to come back into the market. So if you're sitting on the sideline thinking prices are going to fall and rates are just going to keep going high and nobody's buying, you're going to miss this window of opportunity. And if you miss it, you're out. You're just going to have to buy in at the top. So make sure you pay close attention to these market factors that are going on. Make sure you stay tapped into this channel, because I'm going to keep bringing you guys these articles and this information to keep you educated, even if you're not doing the research on your own and out there scanning the market. Hopefully this helped. Hopefully this keeps you in touch with the market forces that are going on, how you can position yourself, and make sense of why I'm still saying it's a good time to buy. It's a good time to be in the market. It's a good time to put your properties on shorter term mortgages, like a 5-1 ARM, like an annual renewable mortgage, something that you can lock in a lower rate and then maybe refinance later as rates fall back down and readjust as inflation gets back under control. So I wanted to bring this to you guys. Hope it helps. Brian Grimes, your real estate mentor. If you're new to the platform, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Share this with somebody who you want to see do well in real estate. If you have somebody who's trying to get into the game, but they don't know if now's a good time, send them this video. Share it with them. Educate them. If you're new to the platform, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and leave a comment that says, I subscribe. For everyone who leaves that comment, I'm going to send you instant access to my free real estate training that'll show you how to acquire properties for pennies on the dollar all across the country. You don't want to miss out on that free offer. Brian Grimes, your real estate mentor, signing off.